It's Friday, May 7th, 2021, and we're here for nonsense. Well, at least I'm here for the nonsense, but we've also got a little bit of design and security. But the nonsense is really where it's at, so just skip to that. You don't even care about this part.
Chris doesn't hate the security section, but I feel like the security section is probably helpful for maybe a small portion of our audience, but really helpful.
But you know who does not have a security story this week in our security news section?
Well, of course, it's the greatest Linux provider that you could ever find.
That's Linode. You can get $100 of free credit below. They're sponsoring this week's episode of the news, so thank you, Linode. They've got object storage, and they've got a ton of tutorials. We can WireGuard in the cloud. They also have VLANs in the cloud now. You can have your little cluster of Linodes, and they're all connected together. And the traffic between Linodes doesn't count. This is pretty cool.
That's nice.
And we've also got the Level 099 videos. Both videos might be out by now. And you can do that stuff at the CLI.
Yes. If you can't get your hands on some crappy hardware, now you should try to build your own computer if you can. But if you can't, I understand that. Maybe you're, at a university, or you're living in a cardboard box somewhere or whatever.
Linode credits are free, 3 months, $100.
You can follow along with all of our tutorials on Linode.
Yeah, Linode.
In fact, sometimes I just use it because they give us free credit. When I'm just feeling lazy, I'm like, let me just spin up a new machine here and do it, and I'll capture the footage there. Super convenient.
Woo!
And no affiliation at all with DigitalOcean. It's very important.
DigitalOcean says the customer billing data has been accessed in a data breach. Oh, no. Now, DigitalOcean is pretty big. But there's not really... DigitalOcean hasn't provided a lot of details here.
First, last four of your credit card and something else, right?
Yeah.
So a pretty good... Oh, the bank that your credit card was issued by. So a pretty good starter set of Fraud 101 data.
Sounds like a mailing list for competing companies to reach out and say, would you like to have a different provider?
You know who hasn't been breached? And who knows, perhaps this little tool could have been used during that breach. We really don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that there's all kinds of weaponized horror out there, and some of it was created by the quote-unquote good guys.
Security firm Kaspersky believes that it's found the new CIA malware. They think it's CIA malware because its pedigree and coding is such that it doesn't really have a lot of in common with other malware that's been used by criminal gangs or anything like that. But it does have a few things in common with stuff that showed up as part of like State Department training material or something. So maybe?
That's an interesting thought experiment. If I sit you down and I say, okay, write this program, but don't do it in your way of programming. Try to pretend to be somebody else.
It's hard.
I can't imagine. You'd have to learn what things to change.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I'm sure that there are some Chinese and Russian nationals who are quite adept at it. And Signal, now we learned that Signal has discovered a flaw in the Cellebrite software. It turns out the Cellebrite software, not very hardened.
Not a flaw. It is an endless bounty of flaws.
Yeah, flaws all the way down, which is embarrassing because you're supposed to be a security company, but also a problem because you are being used in the court system.
Signal's Cellebrite hack is already causing grief for the law. So if you use Signal, they're adding stuff to Signal that will crash, or allegedly. It seems like this is what's happening. If you use Signal, because Cellebrite is trying to target Signal, it's like, all right, the gloves are off. Signal's putting stuff in there that is corrupt in such a way that it will cause the Cellebrite device to malfunction or do something weird. So this lawyer has said, hey, if it's that flawed, my client was convicted only on evidence from this thing, and if it's that flawed, then there's maybe something to explore here. And so this case is being opened up. But also, in addition to that, you remember how in the Signal video they were saying, oh, this weird, they're bundling some Apple libraries and stuff with the application. I wonder if they got Apple's permission to do that. Those have been removed, and a memo was sent to law enforcement saying, you're going to have to do some steps now to scan Apple devices. Oops.
I wonder if that will be an Apple lawsuit. Apple is single-handedly probably hiring like half of the people that passed the bar in 2021.
Yeah, I think that, Apple, like, if that were Joe Random Citizen that were hacking around on iTunes, yes, the Apple, lawyer helicopter would be on their compound immediately. They would be scooped up in an unmarked van. But I think that Apple's going to have a very soft response to this Cellebrite thing, and that tells you everything you need to know.
But what about...
I hope I'm wrong about that.
What about the fact that it could have been that when Apple refused the FBI in that one case, they turned around and still used Apple software?
Yeah.
I think Apple would be very angry about that.
I don't know. I think it's all theater. I don't think they really care.
Yes, you're right. They'll be angry in public, but that's enough.
If they were legitimately angry, though, they would be dispatching the black helicopters. Like, we would know about it because there would be so much fallout from it that it would be very easy to find and talk about.
I'm sure we'll hear more about it. I'm curious to follow that one. And DoNotPay is this amazing... Did they ever port that to Android?
What?
The DoNotPay app? It used to be just iOS, right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
But it is an incredible thing. You pay, it's a subscription fee, but they have so many different things now. It'll get you out of parking tickets. It will file certain like class action stuff on your behalf. And now, an amazing new feature.
Legal chatbot DoNotPay adds anti-facial recognition filters to its suite of handy tools. This is amazing. They took a picture of Joe Biden and run it through the tool and then uploaded it, and it was like, I don't know who this is. I don't recognize it. No idea who this is.
And as you can see, to the human eye, it's not really that much of a difference. Now, we've looked at this before in terms of technology that obfuscates pictures to an AI without doing it to a human. But this is fully automated.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that now what they're doing in this algorithm is going to be incorporated into the facial recognition algorithm. It's going to automate the perturbance on the images and then run that through the AI as well. And eventually, in pretty short order, this kind of technology I think is going to be rendered. It's like the holographic banana problem.
But is that going to be better or worse in terms of identifying black people?
Probably worse.
Because it could easily be that what they introduced to overcome this makes it actually worse in a real world
What
scenario.
an incredible side effect. I mean, can you imagine when we've got the robot farmers and it's like, why don't we have any crops of bananas this year? And it's like, well, we accidentally thought it was a fungus. So the robots killed all the bananas.
Yeah, the laser weed killer got confused. Somebody put QR code stickers on half the bananas. And
how does this even happen?
Now we're going to have starvation. Sorry. Ransomware continues to ravage the world, and law enforcement will tell you don't pay. Because what else are you going to do? But they're in a bit of a pickle in this one.
Ransomware gang threatens to expose police informants if the ransom is not paid. So the ransomware gang got in. They were able to extract 250 gigabytes of data? Something crazy like that.
Pretty much everything. So you can see some of these file names. Seems a little risky. Look at this juicy directory. So they're saying, hey, we've got, not only do we have all the personal information about where your cops live and how much money they make and all of their complaints that were against them and sealed, but we also know about your informants. And that could be real dangerous.
So they're trying to figure out how to get Bitcoin.
Remember the time Hillary Clinton revealed who some spies were?
Oh, that was a total mistake.
Yeah, well, this was too. And macOS gets a new bypass this week. However, they have already patched it, so don't worry too much.
A software bug let malware bypass macOS's security defenses. It poses a document, but it was able to launch Calculator. And that's because macOS just not very hardened. macOS is probably going to have security issues until they get that campus in North Carolina up and running and they can have some actual real, the security researchers that work for Apple, they've got probably at least a few really smart people, but it's like for every one position they actually have, they probably need about 8 more people. They're $1 trillion company. The team handling security should not fit in one building, and it's not that way.
But if they hired everybody they need for security, they wouldn't be $1 trillion company. They'd be like a $500 billion company. And that's unacceptable.
Apparently.
Of course. The pandemic vaccination stuff continues to roll out. It seems like we're hitting a bit of a plateau, and I got to admit, I'm part of that plateau. Haven't done it yet. But I am not actively fighting against it, which seems like a bad thing to do.
Anti-Vaxxer hijacks QR codes at check-in sites. And, yeah, don't do that. Why would you do that? Come on.
So I guess this helps you, like, pull up your place in line or whatever. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just information or whatever, but they just put a sticker over it, and the new QR code went to anti-vax websites. That's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You think anybody was swayed by that?
No.
Like, you know, like QR, and they were like, "Oh my God, he's right." And they just ran out.
Well, I mean, maybe because the Facebook posts will do that, and that's just horrifying.
Yeah.
The lady at the end of the street with 20 cats knows what she's talking about.
I like to think about, remember the sweet salad days when everything was better, and we were all outraged because of the credit companies leaking all of our info. I was like, it can't get any worse than this, and then it just fell off a cliff. But we can't forget that because it's still happening.
Experian API exposed credit scores of most Americans. So all of that data that was leaked, turns out there was an API where you could get much of the same data on purpose. And it's like, oh, wait, yeah, this needed to be behind authentication. Our bad.
So all you had to have was an address and a name.
Now, the API is still there.
Okay.
Experian customers can still use it. It
was a third party.
It's just not as open to the internet as it was.
So they didn't change the API. They contacted all of the partners, and they said, hey, don't do this.
Welcome to your dark future.
So I'm sure it'll happen again.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, all those partners, anybody that works there, still has access to all of this.
Yeah, it's still there. It's like oops, it's on the internet. It's still on the internet. It's just that there's one extra parameter in the get string now, and it's still there.
Now, we don't have Krista for these stories, and that's unfortunate because, this is her expertise. I feel like, what do you think your sensitivity to fonts is? I feel like mine is incredibly low.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of all the same.
Yeah.
But Krista would doggedly argue against that, and apparently a lot of people would.
Microsoft is changing the default Office font and wants your help picking a new one. It's the first time Microsoft Office font has changed in nearly 15 years.
So here are your candidates. I really don't see a whole lot of difference. I would probably choose based on the word I like the best, which is Seaford.
I can't wait for the documents to show up. It's like, this document is from the 90s, and it's like in one of these fonts, and it's like, this font didn't exist in the 90s. Oh, right.
Oh, you mean like when somebody tries to prove something with it?
Yeah.
Send you a Word document.
Yeah.
If you drive around in the suburbs, you're going to see a lot of little blue octagons sticking out of everybody's front lawn. But it's a different little blue octagon, and that is the conflict.
ADT sues Amazon's Ring over the use of a blue octagon logo. Now, in fairness, Ring's blue is more of a, like, seafoam blue, and ADT's is more of a royal blue.
And when you're driving past someone's house and see a tiny sign in their front garden, you can definitely tell the difference.
ADT's business model has got to be like in danger because.
Oh yeah. They're in trouble. I thought you were going to say it's bad. And I was like, yeah, but Ring. I watch a lot of. I'm fascinated by the the more extreme personalities in the world. So I watch YouTube videos a lot of people who talk about their lives of crime. And there was a house burglar, and he was like, yeah, even if you don't get a security system, get one of the signs that says ADT wireless, because I'll pass you up every time. I don't want to mess with a wireless security system. So, pro homeowner tip. And you can buy those, I think, on eBay.
I've had a couple of porch pirates that make it like two things up the like 2 clicks up the stair, and then the motion porch light comes on, and they look up, and because the porch light is right next to the camera, and then they back away slowly.
So that's happening at night?
No, the light comes on whether it's daytime or not.
Oh, okay.
But the porch is covered enough that you notice it. You hear the click, and you notice it, and it's just like, oh, it's kind of funny.
I think I'm insulated enough from all the traffic because it's a dead end road that I don't have to worry too much about the pirates.
Yeah.
Although maybe that's an opportunity target. I don't know.
I haven't had anything stolen yet, so that's good.
The woman next door definitely just watches everything that happens in the neighborhood. And I find that annoying, but at the same time, one time she was like, oh, hey, your package is at the wrong house. And I was like, how do you know?
It's funny, that abandoned house that I have to keep an eye on that's out in the middle of nowhere, the neighbor lady there is the same way. And a couple of times the delivery service has delivered something for her to that house. And I've had to call her, and she's like, oh, yeah, I know. I just was waiting on you to tell me to go. It was okay to go get it. It's like, all right. Sounds good.
Well, you have to worry about that kind of thing because when there's an empty house, it might be something that someone wants to send contraband to and pick it up in a safe way of what you're describing. And that might have been what this gentleman had to do because he was definitely using an illicit substance.
Oh, I don't remember the headline for this one, but this startup CEO was dismissed because he was using LSD at work.
Now, he claimed he was...
It's a Bloomberg article.
He claimed he was microdosing. It's my understanding that LSD microdosing, you don't get any kind of feeling from that.
I don't think so.
But they point out that he was let go after a conference room encounter during a meeting. So I think he might have not gone micro. He might have just dosed. And it was obvious to some other people in the meeting that he was tripping balls.
Yeah, some of the quotes in there is just the incredulity. It's like, this is how we do things in the valley, and it's like, is it really? Maybe we should kill the valley with fire.
I think it kind of is. Now, I don't believe a lot of that stuff. To me, it's kind of like the same kind of stuff you hear about CBD.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know if I believe it, but if it were proven and legalized, and you found out that microdosing LSD could give you like superpowers when it came to technology, would you do it?
That's how Steve Jobs got his superpowers, he said.
Well, that's how he got his cancer. I mean, it's not how he got it, but it's how he didn't get rid of it.
You have lymphoma. Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I'm too afraid of messing with my brain.
This headline is just funny because of who it happened to. I mean, it's not funny, but it's the reason it's in the nonsense section.
Police are investigating arson after, I'm not going to say that word because the algorithm definitely gets triggered. This particular CEO of a website that's not for anybody under 18, went up in flames. Now, he wasn't living there. That's the headline to get your attention, but it's kind of clickbait because he was building this mansion and it's under construction and he was going to move in, but then he was like, nah, I don't want to move in. I'm going to sell it. So it was listed for $19 million.
19.8. It might as well be 20.
20, yeah. So,
but they caught people
breaking in,
trespassing on the property shortly before the fire, so they are for sure thinking it's arson.
Yeah.
But I wonder why.
It could be arson, or it could be, hey, there's this giant house under construction and the south wing is just open. We're homeless. Let's go live there.
But why burn it down?
Well, they might have created a fire to keep warm because there was nothing else, and then it sort of spread.
Wasn't it in California?
Yeah, it was in California. So California gets cold at night.
In April?
Yeah.
You're probably okay in California. So that's unfortunate. And another instance, God, it's such a good lead-in, but I can't.
Yeah, I know. The one, yeah, because of the animal. Yeah.
Another headline about beavers.
Internet outage in Canada blamed on beavers gnawing through fiber optic cables.
Do you think that's an unusually large beaver? It looks massive.
TELUS said this. No, the disturbing thing was they said that part of the beaver dam was the marking tape that they usually are on fiber cables that are buried. So apparently these things got super far underground because they had used some of the marking tape as part of their dam as well.
I bet they were blown away at how good a dam building material tape is.
Yeah.
They're like, I've never had anything this good building dams with.
The beavers have leveled up. They now understand, like, they're coming for our civilization because they want more tape.
This is another Krista story, although It is a fantastic engagement challenge. I mean, I couldn't come up with anything good. Could you?
No.
But it's such a great prompt.
What do you call a bunch of black holes? A crush? A scream? There are pods of whales and gaggles of geese, and a quantum of scientists. Now astronomers are wondering which plural term would
I've got one. A noodle. A noodle of black holes. So they have discovered that black holes can hang out together in little clusters. And we're finding more and more of these. So how do you describe that?
A torus of black holes. No.
Yeah, they did have some great ones. And they pointed out that, these it was a room full of PhDs. And as soon as that was presented, they were just cracking each other up, trying to throw, it completely derailed the meeting. Here's a dark story, and just a reminder of how incestuous the roles of government and higher education and pure evil are often.
Harvard closes Evolution Center after finding connections to Jeffrey Epstein. What? And it's like, this headline doesn't make sense. There has to be something more to it. No, that pretty accurately sums up the entire story.
Now, you might be thinking, well, how is he connected? Did he donate money? Well, yes, but he also had an office, and he visited there. They said he visited there 40 times during the time that he was. And I don't know, does Harvard have any attractive young girls?
He was definitely not scouting for talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this reeks of something more sinister going on, in all honesty.
So the guy who was his friend who works at that college has also come under some fire, and he's going to have to answer some difficult questions. It's just terrible. This story has been talked about a lot, but they are finally doing it, and they're doing it in a big way.
Thousands of the first genetically modified mosquitoes to be released in Florida. This is probably not like the ones that Bill Gates released during the TED Talk.
I think it's almost exactly the same.
It is, yeah.
These are they're only males, and they only are supposedly able to create non-viable female offspring.
And that's because dengue fever is breaking out in Florida?
So now they did try this once before, not in Florida. I think it was in Brazil, was it?
And it turns out that those mosquitoes could actually reproduce.
Yeah, it was the whole Jurassic Park thing. They're like, nope, you can't stop us. This is nature. It does what it wants. But good luck. Maybe you should try to collect some mosquitoes, so you'll have, you can keep a mosquito collection. It's like, oh yeah, these are the GMO mosquitoes. You can tell because of the little death's head on the bottom of them. It says property of Microsoft. I was really upset they didn't have a picture with this, because I was trying to imagine how it works. Could you?
That's your engagement challenge. Imagine, but don't write it out.
Yeah, we'll get punished if you put it in the comments too. But could you have any idea?
No.
I can't. Yeah.
No. German police say the grenade-shaped item in the forest was, in fact, not a grenade. And I declined to elaborate further because of the algorithm. The headline was, it was a Bavarian forest, and the object was actually made of rubber and not intended for violence.
I imagine it had some branding on it, because they Googled it, and they were like, oh, okay. But there were some other indicators, because there was some other, let's say, paraphernalia that was found with it.
But it's not unusual for this forest in Bavaria to have other munitions from World War II, because it was an active battle site, for World War II. So other things have turned up at this particular Bavarian forest, but in this case, no.
I bet that particular Bavarian forest will get a lot more foot traffic after this. Sounds exciting. This one, I put it in there purely
for the
name.
Yeah.
Because there's so many jokes you can make here. They practically make themselves.
Myanmar, which is, we really hope that things are not really terrible there.
Well, it's as good as
right? Ethnic Karen guerillas capture army base as resistance coup grows.
Ethnic Karens.
That is the name of the group.
And we should make light of it, because it's a real group and they're having real problems. But Ethnic Karens? It's so good. I suppose an ethnic Karen in our version of it would have to be pure lily white, right?
Yeah.
And it would probably have to be either Catholic or Protestant.
The thing that the most Karen thing I've ever seen was the lady accosting the surveyor. He had like his little laser sextant thing out, and she was like, "No, we don't want none of that in our neighborhood." And like she was stopped in the middle of the road, like freaking out. He was just like, "Yeah,
surveying."
Yeah. It's a pretty horrifying video.
That's a woman who very slowly over the years has been moving her property line. People do that. And, a terrible headline, certainly if you're the Disney Corporation, but I think this is a bigger problem than anybody realizes or wants to realize, is these buskers, these street people who dress up, and by the way, Disney would not tolerate this if they could stop it, but they're not always the most mentally healthy people in the world.
Person wearing a Chewbacca costume wanted in New Orleans stabbing incident. Have you seen Chewie? Chewie's fallen on hard times.
So he got in an argument. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll be like, "Oh, let's take a picture. Oh, I'll get a picture with Spider-Man or whatever." And then you take the picture and they're like, "Oh, it's $15.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, no, I didn't agree to that." And then they pull a knife. So.
And, occasionally go through with it.
What do you think the Chewbacca busker smells like?
It's not a pleasant smell.
How often is that suit laundered?
It's never actually been laundered.
How many fleas are living in it right now? And our final story is one that you're not going to be able to say either. but I am going to show you the picture. I don't care if we get demonetized because it's so amazing.
Bowser is being censored by Nintendo, but it's not that Bowser. It's a Bowser that was on Patreon, and it was this modeler who makes toys for grown-ups, let's say.
It's not a toy, it's digital. You can use it. Is it gone? There was a picture of it. It's gone.
I thought it was a real thing that you could order. I was pretty sure it was a real thing you could order.
You might be able to get one made, but it's for some kind of online movie making thing. So you can use that as an asset in your digital movie.
Well, it was just like it was not really super connected to in Nintendo's intellectual property, but
here we go.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not like why would it's just literally just the name Bowser. So
it looks too human, don't you think?
A little, yeah.
Also, isn't it hilarious that the CEO is named Bowser?
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks too human. But if it went to court, I got to think Nintendo loses, don't you?
I think they probably would, yeah. I don't think like on the evil corporate scale, that might be the engagement challenge here is like Apple, Disney, Nintendo. Like which one is the most hideously evil and does not like because like Nintendo is evil on a level in that they have beloved stories, but they absolutely will not tolerate those stories living in your head rent free.
But Nintendo, I would argue, while maybe tipping the scale too much toward the evil end, doesn't hit as hard on the impact to society.
That's true.
So do you grade on that?
Well, I mean, that's an engagement challenge.
But one tweet did point out, if Nintendo took this down, then that means that they are confirming that is Bowser. So this is now canon. Which makes Bowser's kidnapping of Peach so much more terrifying.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't live through that.
No.
She's a small girl.
Please join us on Patreon or Float Plane.
That's why we're not getting any of that YouTube money. No one's getting it.
This is on Input and Twitter, so I mean, surely it can't be that bad.
But they did not embed the tweet.
Oh, yeah.
You had to click to it.
Yeah.
All right, well, hopefully we'll have Krista back next week.
Oh, maybe we can sneak in. Maybe we can pixelate it on YouTube, but on Patreon and Float Plane, no pixelization.
Oh. Yeah, let's get the editors on that. Let's put in the project manager.
Yeah.
Pixelate Bowser's. What did you do today, honey?
I guess that would probably actually only work on float plane. Because I don't think you can.
Oh yeah, Patreon passed those rules. Yeah. But is it? I mean, I guess people could use that as a, like a turn on rather than just a. What am I saying? Of course they would.
I don't even think it's recognizable as what that is unless somebody like if it just showed me a picture of that, it would take me a few seconds to realize. I
would just turn away in horror.
It would take me a few seconds to turn away in horror, but.
Oh no, because in college nobody burned you with that. They would go in and change your desktop.
No.
Oh, we used to do that all the time, and it was horrific. You had to try to find the worst one you could. That's a deep pool, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. See you next week. Linode.
Thanks, Linode.